Hey, hey, Blue Table fans! Alright, so this Valhalla, we're doing more of like a behind the scenes thing, right? So I'm here with Breana, and you are Thomas's daughter. Mm-hmm. Is that right? Okay. So how long have you been Thomas's daughter for?
26 years.
Oh, okay. I meant that as a joke, but okay, I'll take it. You said it. It's okay. All right, fantastic. Now, you have obviously a life outside of what you're doing here. So tell us about that life.
When I'm not here, I'm a teaching assistant for a special education class. And I play a whole lot of
We're going to get along really well.
Yeah, and I play a whole lot of World of Warcraft.
Oh, okay, fantastic. How long have you been playing WoW?
Pretty much since its release.
Really?
Yeah.
So, since you were 3?
9.
9? Is that when it came out?
Yeah, 2004.
So, 17 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It seems like forever. It seems like an 80s game. Well, I guess I'm remembering, what was the original one called?
The Warcraft games?
World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
No.
Warcraft 1, 2, and 3 were the originals.
Oh, yeah, it was just called Warcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Not War. Yeah, I actually played those.
So did
back
my dad.
in like 97.
Yeah, so did my dad.
Yeah. When they were pathetic. And back in the 80s when they had Ultima,
Oh, yeah.
which was literally just no mouse or anything. You would just use the arrow keys, and they'd be like, blonk, 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 blonk. All right, so anyway, so how has World of Warcraft changed over that whole time? How's it gotten better? What's great about it now?
What's great about it now is transmog, so you don't have to have ugly gear on anymore.
I don't know what that means.
Basically, what transmog means is you can change your gear to make it look like something else that it's not. You can make it look pretty.
Oh, I see. So before, an axe would look like the same stupid axe on everybody.
Yeah, and then you can change it to like, you could change it from like a raid tier axe if you wanted to. Yeah.
Okay.
Even if it's not actually it.
I remember in the San Francisco Bay Area in like 2002, there was a local game shop owner, and he was playing, what was that other game, EverQuest?
Oh, yeah.
Is that it? Mm-hmm. Well, and he just, his whole life, like, he never vacuumed. He was always just there playing it. When he went to go buy something, he was like,
Yep. A lot of the developers from WoW actually came over from EverQuest.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
Cool. So you basically are the nuts and bolts aspect of this event. Tell us about how it started, because I remember you first showing up, it was 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. You seemed kind of like wide-eyed, like, you know, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
And so tell us about that journey.
So my dad and Miranda got married about 5 years ago. I planned their entire wedding for them, and I had a lot of fun doing that.
Oh, nice.
And that was about the time Miranda started taking over Valhalla. Yeah. And so I was like, hey, I just really like event planning. I would like to do more of this. And so for a couple of years I stayed out because I was in school, and finally, like my senior year of college, they were like, hey, do you want to just come? Do you want to come? And I was like, okay. And so I started being Miranda's assistant my senior year of college, and I've just kept doing it since then. So
the first year you came,
yeah,
you were already on the job.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't like, oh, look around and enjoy yourself. They were like, hey, here's how to run it.
Yep, I was here to work from day one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Now, has there been any talk of you actually coming out on your own and just doing the whole shebang?
Maybe in the future, yeah. They've talked about it, maybe me potentially taking over.
No, that wasn't a gotcha. I just now thought of that.
No, you're okay.
Well, you know, eventually.
It's been mentioned before, probably not anytime soon, but maybe in the future they've mentioned me taking over Valhalla.
And you know, I'm gunning for Springhalla.
Yeah.
So Miranda renamed it Valhalla in the fall. Mm-hmm. Smart trademarking move.
Yeah.
Like a regular word like Valhalla is really hard to make it your thing. Mm-hmm. Right? It is possible though, since I don't think anyone's doing this specific thing with Valhalla. Mm-hmm. So then you've got then I started just calling it Fallhalla, which has not caught on, by the way.
Oh, that's cute. Yeah. I like that, Fallhalla.
Oh, isn't it like an obvious wordplay? So then now Springhalla would be really amazing. Okay, so we know a little bit about your other life. What did you go to college for?
I have a BA in English Studies with a minor in history.
Oh, that's awesome. Great. You and me both. I got a degree in language arts, too.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm ready to get a job in my chosen field.
Yeah. Yeah, mostly
But it
why I
does
work
help
in
you. It
education.
improves you as a person. It
Yeah.
makes you a professional. And for all the, I dump on college a lot.
So does my dad.
Yeah, for many reasons. However, I have to say that it did really improve me as a person.
It does. It
So
gives
there
you a
you go.
work ethic. It kind of forces you to. It does. It gives you a work ethic.
Yeah, to get your papers done and go to your classes and read the books and
Yeah, you
participate and
You got to do your stuff or you'll get kicked out.
you can't. Yeah, they won't let you grad. Well, in my case, not to make it about me, but my chair for Spanish language arts, she calls me in. It's the end of my senior year. We've all done our final papers, right? She's like, Sean, I'm grading your paper. And she says, I'm going to give you a very special grade. And I'm like, okay. And she says, I'm going to give you a C minus, minus, minus. And she got a little louder with every minus because I don't want to see you here again next year. And I was like, yes, I'm out of here.
It's hilarious.
All right. So, and you yourself got married recently, right?
I did, yes. I got married at the end of June this year.
Oh, so recent.
Yeah, only like 4 months
But you and
ago.
Dylan have known each other for a long time.
We have. We dated for 11 years before we got married.
Oh, yeah, that's quite... Well, hold on a second. So, like, high school? Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
I met him when I was 14.
That's amazing. So, did either of you try to bolt at some point in time?
No, not really. We pretty much have all stayed.
Okay.
We pretty much stayed together the entire time. So.
Well, that's... I got to tell you, that's always an interesting story. Because everyone has their different stories.
Yeah.
Right? And meeting your person right away without all the rigmarole.
I've been very
You
lucky.
know.
Yeah, I know I've been very lucky in
There's
that.
something to be said.
So, because I know, I feel like we have something that some people search their entire lives for and never
Aw.
find.
That's very sweet. Well, I
So-
saw, thanks to Facebook, you can kind of see people's lives float by.
Yeah.
And in a weird way, because you're scrolling through literally probably 1,000 entries.
Yeah.
Right? You see people's lives.
Yeah.
So even though I don't really have contact with you guys, I saw like kind of your whole thing. And people see my life too.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
what
we-
I've done and
Keep up with everyone from Valhalla throughout the year, even though this is usually the only time we see them.
right. So it's say what you like about Facebook. It does a very good service to humanity.
It does. It's nice to be able to keep track of people you don't get to see very often.
Okay, awesome. Well, okay, I only have 2 more subjects.
Okay.
So one is, give me your impressions of what's happened in Valhalla so far, like the evolution of it, your observation of the evolution, and what your predictions are.
So I will say, and this could just be due to Chris not being here this year, but I will say that I've noticed there's less.
Wait, who's Chris?
Christover.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's getting married
Chris.
this weekend.
Right. Tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, tomorrow. Oh, so
We tried. Yeah, it's happening. Thomas is looking in through the window at us, creepily.
So
They all went out with camera equipment and a giant stuffed
They do have a
moose.
giant stuffed moose. With
So
them right
it's
now.
it's a mystery what
Yeah.
they're doing out there. Okay.
I've noticed a lot more role playing in board games this year than there was the stuff with the miniatures. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
It used to be like, bam, 40K, 40K,
yeah,
everything.
I've noticed the room's been not like empty, but just emptier than it normally would be.
Mm-hmm.
And people have just been more, I wouldn't say interested, but people have just been spending more time doing board games and role playing.
That is a great observation. I think people, like nowadays, you could come up and just do board games the whole time.
Yeah, I'm sure
Easily.
you could. Yeah.
And have a great time
Somebody
and meet
would
tons of people.
Always be here to. My own husband actually would always be down to play a board game with anybody.
That's actually not a bad idea. Well, the mixture is really good here
Mm-hmm.
because you can kind of get everybody
Yeah.
now because there's something for everybody. My original Valhallas back in like 2011, I was going to do 6 of them a year. And I was going to split them. Well, it was only 18 people per thing.
Okay.
Because it was at Sundance, but I was going to split them. I was going to have like a War Machine one, a role-playing one, 40K, fantasy,
Yeah.
and all that. But obviously this is what it's become. And
Yeah,
it's better for it.
It's an interesting
really.
concept for sure,
Yeah.
but I wonder how hard it would have been to actually
No,
execute
you need to
that.
do it this way.
Yeah.
That was a dumb idea. Okay, so what do you think is going to happen in the coming years?
I mean, like I said, I do feel like there was an absence felt just with Christover being gone this year. But I do think that it really will just become more and more about board games and role playing.
Oh,
Just
okay.
because it's been interesting. Board games were not as popular like 20 years ago as they are like now. Like pretty much every person I know plays board games to some extent or another. And so I just see that becoming more and more and more of a thing here. Not that miniatures will go away entirely. I don't think that'll ever happen. But I just think there'll be more, I guess you could call them hybrid folks. Like they're kind of interested in multiple things. They're not just here for the minis.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And in those early years, of course, the 40K and fantasy fans sort of carried everything.
Yeah, yeah.
But I definitely see that.
Yeah.
Great. And I don't really see it slowing down. I mean, in 2015, when my life was terrible, I was lucky. I was lucky to have Miranda come along, someone who is so good and so competent and has her act together to really pick that torch up and turn it into something wonderful.
Oh yeah, Miranda's done, like honestly, she's done an amazing, fantastic, wonderful job of making Valhalla into what it is today.
There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes.
There is.
And it's a big, seriously, like my shoulder's starting to hurt thinking about the stress of, worrying about everything. Like on the run up, I'm always like, oh, Miranda this, oh, Miranda that. And I'm just like, Sean, cool it, because she's getting these emails from like 3 dozen people. Yeah, everybody. So many communications, asking questions, travel issue, and travel. Has not been great. Hopefully next year the world will sort of come to its senses and you'll see people getting back to their routine. Yeah,
we're hoping more for a 2019-esque Valhalla in 2022. So we'll see.
Oh, okay, good.
Just see how the world is by then.
Well, was that the record year? Was that I thought it was 62 people was the high.
I think so, and I want to say it was in 19. I don't remember, but I want to say it was in 19.
Yeah, that feels about right. And originally, because this has gone through lots of concepts and proofs, I had thought of having, what if we found a place that had these fields and people could come and just pitch tents?
Oh, yeah.
And turn it into a bit of a Woodstock thing.
Oh, yeah, like a
and
fire.
And then we would actually move tables out.
Yeah.
Another concept I had was having games where the tables were actually the pieces in the game.
Yeah.
So you'd have like spaceships, and you would literally have a movement phase where you picked up the tables and you moved them out in this giant room.
Super fun, yeah.
And you would ram them and have boarding actions.
I may even do that. That's
is that
fun.
A crazy idea? You could do it with smaller tables too. And then, so there's fights on them, and then they have boarding torpedoes and stuff that shoot, and you try and do it. Anyway, but the idea that there's, I found out that there's an LDS girls camp across the way, which is defunct at the time that we're here. And I found out, guess what? They rent those things out.
Oh.
Like anybody can go over there and rent those cabins for like $30 a night.
That's interesting to know. Yeah, that's really not
you
that much.
guys didn't know that.
No.
Yeah, and of course the issue is how do you get here? I think you actually have to literally hop the gate or something to get here. There's problems with this idea, and of course making something really big has problems to it.
Yeah,
and it's not necessarily better.
Yeah, and it's and we're always looking for ways to improve Valhalla every year. Like I know after this, the staff will kind of have a debriefing, you could call it, about what we think could have gone better or what we think went really well this year. So we're always looking for ways to improve it before and after the event. Like sometimes we'll think of an idea a week before and implement it because it just didn't come to us.
Well, give me an example of that.
So I did not get to create it this year due to just being very busy with work. Right. But I wanted to create...
Well, and you had a wedding, too.
I did have a wedding.
That's a big thing.
I did. So my life was just very chaotic over the last few months, but I wanted to create this cool little map of the U.S. And kind of give people a chance to put a little push pin where they came from, because Valhalla really is for people from everywhere.
And the world.
Yeah, and the world, yeah.
Next year we're hoping to get...
World, yeah. And so I'm hoping to make a giant map and everybody can kind of put where they're from. And I didn't think of that till a week before. And I was like, oh, I'd really like to do that, but I ran out of time this year. But I'd really like to do like that next year.
It's like everything.
Yeah.
I prepped for Ultimate Fantasy Role-Playing this year. And I never have time to make it as great as I want to.
Yeah, yeah, it's always...
We had thought... Oh, go ahead.
It always is there's just never enough time for anything.
Well, you guys have the basics down. It must be kind of it must be routine at this time.
It pretty much is. There's some things that will just always remain in routine for the most part, but we're always looking to add extra things if we can. And sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe too many things this year, maybe next year.
Right.
You know? And so, like, I know they did the t-shirts one year, and that was really cool. And we're just always looking for ways to make it better, make it more enjoyable for people.
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
And my dream has always been permanent Valhalla, to actually own a place, live there myself, and not by myself, but
Yeah.
and I did some scouting for it, and of course anybody could do anything. This is what you guys are doing, and obviously you have this place, you know. And I would never want to do something like larger again.
Yeah.
It would be smaller, like the D&D group that I'm running right now.
Yeah.
That's great. I'd love to have 6 or 8 guys out, run a D&D game a little longer every day. That'd be really amazing. Anyway, I scouted out a place in Park City that was for sale, and it was up for $2.6 million.
Wow.
Well, that seems like a lot, but it was in Park City, and it was private, so like this house couldn't see other houses.
Oh, wow.
And it was on 24 acres.
Hot.
So if that had nothing built on it, that would be a great price for Park City land.
Yeah, it would.
But it did have something built on it. The guy that owned it, he was really old. I think he was like 90, and his wife had passed away, and he had built it for her. So he was like, "Yeah, I'm just selling this. I'm moving back with where my relatives are." So he had made his money on boxes. There was some shoe company, I think it was Nike, where they got to put those shoes in something.
Yeah.
So his company made all the boxes for it.
Wow.
And so that's how he had his money. So he built this house for his elderly wife. And quite frankly, it was, in terms of what, wargamer nerds would look for, it was horrible. It was bad. It looked like an Easter egg inside.
Oh no.
It was all purples and teals and pastels.
Oh no.
And it was integrated into everything. Like the carpet, and the tiles were all linoleum. There weren't like what you would expect to see in a high-end, and it was huge. It had like a giant mansion, a sub-mansion, a living quarters, a garage, several garages.
Yeah.
So this place was insane, and I was just like, you could have 30 or 40 people here.
Yeah.
Like easily. So by the way, this is the first the fans are hearing about it. We made a run at actually doing it, but it fell apart. Like you would have needed so many people to kind of cooperate together on a relatively big deal, and all want a say in it. Plus, be up for the further investment to sort of transform it into something where people would come out.
Yeah, it doesn't have like the rustic beauty of
no, it's
timber
not like
moose.
this kind of walked in, but it could have been changed. But anyway, that ended up getting sold. Of course, it was such a steal. But my point is, I think I've got my dreams, and so I didn't want to make this about me. Excuse me.
No, you're okay.
So anyway, but you talking about it kind of made me think about all these other things.
Oh yeah, of course.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
There's one last thing that I've asked of every interviewee.
Okay.
By the way, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
And thank you, fans, for tolerating me sort of going off on a rando tangent. Okay, so would you have any advice for up-and-coming young professionals, or advice for life, rules for life?
Honestly, the first thing that pops into my mind is communication, because I feel like that's a big falling off point for a lot of people. Really, just be the best communicator you can possibly be, and you'll be fine.
That's really good. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. All right, well, it's been a delight, Breana. I feel like I think this is the longest we've talked.
I think so.
Easily by a long shot.
I think so.
We are just like, hi.
Yeah, we're both usually so busy.
Headed
during the
somewhere.
event. So.
All right, well, thank you very much. It's been very nice. All right, thanks for tuning in.